A very good, actually, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and also to Dr. Vijay Joshi from Sydney. A very good late evening, sir. Isn't it amazing, everybody? ये जो विश्व मंथन का कारवा है, it started exactly 10 months back, and who knew that it would take such an amazing shape and form? What started off was a thought from friends in from China who said, "Hey, we are all spread all over the world. We need to get connected." We connected, and then we said, "Well, why don't we put a vision and mission statement?" So we said, "Let's put a vision and mission statement to that." And we said, what we want to do is we want to learn together, we want to grow together, and we want to bring prosperity. And prosperity is a prosperity of thoughts, prosperity of ideas, prosperity of innovations. And with that purpose, we actually started. Little did we know that we would had such a wonderful journey. This journey is about to get even more amazing today. It gives Pradyumna and me and Samir and the whole team at Vishwamanthan immense pleasure. It's an honor to invite and to welcome Shri Anil Kakodkar ji to our wonderful forum. Sir, a very warm welcome to the Vishwamanthan.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time. I have to also acknowledge and thank Meenaltai Mohadikar for bringing us together. So, as I said, this is exactly the vision. We are all professionals who are spread all around the world. There is an interesting connect for most of us, and that is China. Most of people you see in the Vishwamanthan have either worked in China or have some or the other connect. But now, of course, Vishwamanthan is no longer just there. We have expanded. To all our friends, a quick introduction of a man who truly doesn't need an introduction. वो किसी इंट्रोडक्शन के मोहताज नहीं है उनकी शख्सियत, पर मैं और प्रद्युम्न कोशिश करेंगे कि उनको हम आपके सामने रूबरू कर सके. A big warm welcome once again, Sri Anil Kakodkar, who joined the Baba Atomic Research Center, BARC, everybody knows that, in 1964, following the one-year postgraduate training, obviously with the top rank that he scored there in the nuclear science and technology in the then Atomic Energy Establishment. He became the director of BARC in the year 1996 and was the chairman, Atomic Energy Commission, and secretary to the Government of India Department of Atomic Energy during the years 2000 and 2009, crucial years, of course. He has won amazingly large variety, as you can imagine, a whole range of different awards, accolades, recognitions, just to name a few. He has been the member of the International Nuclear Energy Academy, honorary member of World Innovation Foundation. He was a member, Council of Advisors of the World Nuclear University, member, International Nuclear Safety Advisory Group from between 1999 and 2002. And he received in 2009 USIBC Award for expansion of the very important US-India trade relations. प्रद्युम्न, यहाँ तो खत्म नहीं होती है कारवा, इसका आगे आपसे सुनते हैं.
Absolutely. I think, Amit, thank you. And we are truly blessed today to have Anilji with us. Most of us know Anilji for the work that he has done on the side of nuclear energy program in India. And he has, throughout his professional life, has worked on furthering, advancing the nuclear energy program in the interest of India, both on the strategic side as well as on the energy side. A big focus of his work has been on the self-reliant development of the nuclear reactor systems for the Indian program requirement. He was also amongst the chosen few, really few people who were involved in the first successful, peaceful nuclear explosion that India conducted in 1974 at Pokhran. And then he was also involved and played a very key role in the successful nuclear tests which were conducted, which all of us probably remember more closely, in May 1998, once again at Pokhran. For all his contribution to Indian nuclear program, to the science, the development of science and technology in India, the government of India recognized him with Padma Shri in 1998, with Padma Bhushan in 1999, and Padma Vibhushan in 2009. So we are truly blessed, as I said, to have a legend amongst us, and our agenda for today is to understand what motivates him, what drives him, and gives him that energy to continue to contribute to India and its cause. So, Amit, why don't we move on and start that discussion interaction with Anilji?
Absolutely. Before that, quick ground rules. We are all muted. But of course, questions are more than welcome. That's the whole purpose of Vishwamanthan, right? Please post your questions on the text on the chat box. We will definitely pick up these questions and we will bring them forward too. We will have a very lively interaction, question and answer sessions with Anilji. After that, we will have the vote of thanks and we will also cover some of these questions. So with that, and with your permission, Anilji, can we start the session?
Yeah, surely.
Sir, the first immediate, very interesting question that came to our mind, and I am very honored to ask you. You studied mechanical engineering from the Bombay University in 1963, and then masters in experimental stress analysis from the Nottingham University in 1969. Sir, even today, for most of us, atomic and nuclear field is still a very niche field. I'm sure in 1969 it was probably even more niche. What what motivated you to move into this field?
Well, it was an interesting journey. But before I narrate that, uh, let me thank you for this opportunity and also compliment you for creating this, what seems to me a very incredible platform. And compliments to you for these efforts.
Thank you, sir.
Coming
It's
back
basically a
to
team effort.
coming back to this question, uh, see, I sort of when I graduated in mechanical engineering, in those days, mechanical engineering, or for that matter, any engineering in India, was essentially aimed at the needs of the industry at that time.
Mhm.
And industry was not very well evolved in the context of technology. Most of the industry was running on sort of technology imported from elsewhere and the plants set up by others, and the Indian industry and business essentially running production activities. So engineer were in great demand. In fact, the job market was just wonderful. But the kind of jobs which were on offer were primarily in what was known as industrial engineering in those days. Today we know it as production engineering, or the marketing, or at times some work in design office, but there was not too much of design, except the civil engineering a bit had started. But otherwise, it used to be essentially in tool room and things like that, where there's high-end design of some sort. Now, none of these attracted me. And so, although I had a whole bunch of file containing letters from different industries inviting you to kind of uh, file and fill in a form and send it to them, and that then they would invite for an interview with the intention of considering you for a job. It was such a wonderful job market, but for me, it was not very attractive at all. And my family condition was such that I had to get into a job. Going abroad for research and development was not an option for me.
Mhm.
And so some of my close family friends and nearby people, they told me that if you get into BARC, you will be able to do research and development, and that will require a new challenge to be attended to every day, and you will not have to get into a repetitive job.
Mhm.
And that is what took me to BARC. BARC, of course, as you correctly said, nuclear requires special preparation, special orientation, special training. So we had an orientation program, 1 year orientation program. And then after completing that 1 year orientation program, I was placed in the reactor engineering division in BARC. And then I realized that uh, nuclear engineering or reactor engineering is a multidisciplinary area. It involves mechanical engineering, it involves structural engineering, it involves heat and mass transfer, thermal hydraulics, control engineering, materials engineering, and you name what. And I found that while, of course, I was in reactor engineering, that was my domain, but I felt the necessity of going deeper in one of the component disciplines. And that is what took me to this program at Nottingham University on experimental stress analysis. So that program was uh, I was already in BARC and was deputed to do experimental stress analysis at Nottingham University. So that is broadly the background. And I think I was quite lucky in doing so in that order, because when I was looking at the specialized field of experimental stress analysis, I already had a fair bit of grooming in reactor design and reactor development. And so I could absorb the structural aspects in a manner which can be best tailored to the design of reactors. And that's how it came about. I hope that answers your question.
It really does, sir. And I must say, India was fortunate to have you there. It's always about timing, isn't it, in life? And it is about timing that my next question is coming through. You were, and we're all proud of that, sir. You were involved in the nuclear tests in 1974, and of course in 1998. So very interestingly, as somebody who's been following this, what were some of the biggest challenges, and how did the Baba Atomic Research Center team face these challenges?
Well, India has been pursuing this aspect of stress self-reliance in all aspects of atomic energy right from day one. Now, so in the beginning, it was not clear which direction, what will be the national needs. But on a research and development plane, the the work was being carried out with a fairly broad view, open-ended view, that we must develop expertise in all aspects of atomic energy, and then deploy that expertise to meet national needs as they arise. So at the same time, that those were the days when atomic energy had internationally evolved into a particular structure. In the sense, there was this non-proliferation, nuclear non-proliferation treaty, which said that only 5 countries were the permanent members of the Security Council, and only those could have nuclear weapons, and all the rest had to kind of uh, get into a framework where they will not develop nuclear weapon and subject themselves to international inspection in that regard. Now, those were the days also when there was this Western Bloc and Eastern Bloc, and India was a non-aligned country. Now, And, if one wants to ensure the national security under that framework, uh, then it was a major challenge. And and the country has faced these challenges a number of times as it went along. Now, the 1974 peaceful nuclear experiments were triggered by the fact that uh, you know it had the backdrop of the Bangladesh war, when uh, India felt that, on one side, while the Bangladesh war was going on one side there was Russia and some support, but other side there was the US Seventh Fleet, which had entered the Bay of Bengal, and the Indian military capability were quite small compared to these superpowers. And how can India carry out uh, its own security based on its own autonomous decisions without joining any of the power blocks? And obviously there was a feeling that India should have its own strength. And that was also the time when on International Atomic Energy Platform, peaceful nuclear experiments were regularly being done. There was a program at IAEA on peaceful nuclear experiments to look at applications of nuclear explosives for major activities like digging a canal or creating a huge water reservoir or building a big dam or a mountain or things like that, or for that matter, loosening an ore body so that its leaching becomes easier. And there was a lot of economy seen in realizing these objectives using nuclear explosives. So it was thought that, look, if because India had not we had not signed NPT, but we were always a kind of, the peaceful intentions of country has been clear right from. In fact, even there is a historic background to that kind of orientation in India, and so it was thought that, well, look, if India conducts a peaceful nuclear experiment, it will be consistent with what is happening in the rest of the world, and it will also give a signal to the world. And it was with that intention this program was taken up. Whereas 1998, it was a different story. That was, it had a backdrop of the discussion in CTBT, where there was that entry into force clause. And so India was in a kind of catch 22 situation that will either uh, you kind of conduct the test and then decide what you want to do with CTBT. Or if you do not want to conduct the test, then you cannot be blocking CTBT. And at the same time, the security situation was getting worse and worse with two nuclear weapon holding countries which were adversaries as far as India is concerned. And so 1998 were the nuclear weapons test, after which India declared itself as a nuclear weapon power. So, but in either case, whether it was 74 tests or 1998 tests, uh, it is clear that you can't be doing this thing as a large a program with a very large team, large number of people, because it had to be done with great secrecy. And see, in fact, it had to be done in a manner that if should there be a leak, it should be possible to handle that on the basis of a denial. So we would be orphans if there was a leak. And so it was done in a very small, very compact group with competence in a very large number of areas, so that you are mechanical engineer, you are a workshop assembler, uh, you are a structural person, all in one. Similarly, there is an electronics and control and all in one. Like that, so several expertise you have to push in one individual, and I thought it was a great group which sort of carried out these activities. So that was the challenge, uh, to do several things of different domains involving high expertise together, uh, in a kind of, so even if there are resources available, you couldn't really leverage them because you had to maintain the group very small, and to do it in a manner that secrecy would be fully maintained. So it was very exciting, and I uh, I witnessed the team spirit at its best any time in my life, while the 74 and 98 uh, tests were being done.
This is amazing, sir. I mean, I'm just saying this. I'm sure everybody wants to say this. I'm just voicing the voice from everybody that we all want to salute this amazing team. As you said, these are really the true heroes of India, and a big salute to you and to this team, sir. The
Thank
unsung
you.
heroes, but true heroes. Amazing. It's really made us
Thank
very proud. Pradyumna, over to you for the next questions.
Sure. Thanks, Amit. And I can only echo what Amit you mentioned. I think nuclear tests not only proved our technical capability, but also gave all Indians, a moment, a proud feeling that we could stand high and we have our rightful place in the world. Anilji, you were involved during and after the test, not only in resolving some of the technical challenges that you highlighted, but also you were in the midst of all the diplomatic and political negotiations and discussions that happened afterwards, especially. So the question for you, which we have also from Professor Venkatraman, who is with IIM Indore, and he also added this question that what was the key to the success as you were involved in, especially in the Indo-US nuclear deal, but other discussions which happened immediately after the explosions. What were some of the key to the success? Because India came out shining after that, handled many of these discussions very successfully.
Well, after the tests, it happened both after the 74 tests as well as after the 1998 tests. India was subjected to very severe and very uh, kind of constraining embargoes in terms of nuclear trade, access to information, technology, and what have you. Now, after 74 tests, when this situation came about, that is the time when the Rajasthan reactors were under construction and Canadians walked out, and Tarapur reactors, which were set up by Americans, they decided not to supply fuel for the Tarapur reactors. And so it was a very challenging time, because Indian industry readiness also was not uh, not the kind of readiness that it is today. And so while within the department we had achieved a degree of self-reliance, we knew how to do things, and we were quite confident that should there be a problem in industry, we will go to industry, sit there with them and get our jobs done. And many such things have been done, including myself. I have worked on a shop floor of at least a couple of industries to get activities done. Now, so, but uh, you know, completing those reactors, modifying those designs, making them suitable to Indian conditions, And all these were major technological challenges which were overcome in spite of all these embargoes. So initially we had quite some difficulty in kind of, having the reactors completed in time, ensuring that they perform to full capacity factor. And we had a uranium mine at Jadugoda in Jharkhand, and we had plenty of stockpile of yellow cake. So we never felt uranium shortage. Uh, but as we kind of learned the technology and mastered that technology, we actually started completing the reactor construction in good time. For example, Tarapur 3 and 4, the 500 megawatt units, which are indigenous, we actually completed in less than the projected budget and less than the projected time, and went to government and to seek approval for reduced outlay and reduced schedule so that we can offer a lower electricity tariff. Now, so that was the big transition uh, that took place in terms of the construction program. In terms of performance of the reactor themselves, our reactors started working at near 100% capacity factor. Annually, we were logging something like 85%, 90% capacity factor. And I'm very happy to tell you that today, some of our reactors do hold world record for continuous runs. Of course, this is a competitive world, so it goes up, comes down and all. But Indian reactors have worked continuously without a trip or a shutdown for more than 1 year, maybe 34, 35 times by now. And a few of them holding world record, as I said. So reactor started working very well. We were able to construct reactor very fast. And then we found that we are running short of uranium. We had an aggressive uranium exploration program, uh, but even then, I think we don't find rich enough uranium ore in the country, not yet. Although we have, through exploration program, we have found uh, our uranium resource as a whole has gone up maybe 3 or 4 times compared to what it was. But all this takes time. So here it was a case where earlier there was technology constraint. When that was solved, we started facing the uranium field supply constraint. And that is the time it was becoming apparent that uh, the world is slowly, this is before the shale oil and shale gas kind of revolution started emerging. And that was a time it was past the Chernobyl. And so I'm talking about an era of early 2000, that decade. And we found that worldwide nuclear energy it's appearing to be a major solution to energy problem if we want to address the climate change issue, which was becoming very important. And here it was the case, India, it was clear that if you are not able to use this, we will have to keep on depending more and more on coal, which in turn would lead to higher and higher CO2 emissions. And the world, of course, even now they talk, but at that time they started talking about, the Indian CO2 emission will create major crisis from the global climate perspective. And there was a school of thought that even in United States, which actually felt that, look, uh, we put embargoes on India, and that embargo was essentially to make sure that India does not become a nuclear weapon state. Now that didn't succeed. India is a nuclear weapon state, but everybody had observed India's march. the progress and development. And it was clear, everybody agreed that India is one of the most responsible countries in carrying out its development. It has not violated any of its international agreement. It has used the self-reliant development at home uh, to meet its national requirements. And at the same time, now energy being the most important thing, and India has this large energy deficit where clean energy has become important. So nuclear energy should be actually the way to go forward for India. And people saw business in that, lot of business in that. And so there was one school of thought there. There was also this issue that, the non-proliferation architecture worldwide has been built essentially triggered by India's 1974 peaceful nuclear experiment. And so there were other people in those days, they were being called non-proliferation ayatollahs. Now, they would like to let go this architecture which they have created at great pains and efforts. Uh, and and then of course there was the larger geopolitics. China was an emerging power, and people felt that there must be some rebalancing where India could play a role. So that created a new dynamics, and after the nuclear tests in 1998, you must have heard about Stroke Talbot Jaswant Singh dialogue, which does a lot of weathering and softening of attitude. And slowly it emerged that one can explore cooperation even in nuclear era. And now, so negotiations started on that, but the question was what would be the contours of such a cooperation? Because any country other than P5, if it has to have kind of access to nuclear commerce, and at the same time, if it has to maintain uh, its own strategic program, because we're already a nuclear weapon state by that time, uh, with ability to develop their own strategic technologies. It was unthinkable in those days. And so red lines had to be drawn that yes, we will cooperate on areas where international cooperation is available. We can benefit from nuclear trade, and we have no difficulty in putting all such activities which benefit from international cooperation under international safeguards of IAEA. But whatever we do completely on our own, uh, that I think we should have our own autonomy to decide what we want to do and how we want to deploy, and that our position as nuclear weapon state would remain intact. And so it started with, okay, you can have a small military program, and rest of it can be under subject to safeguards. On the other hand, we said that no, you cannot have you can't define military program as consisting of a few items and a few facilities, because that also evolves. And so you should be able to decide your own way forward. So you should have strategic autonomy in that respect. And that was a tough negotiation. And of course, as it normally happens, uh, the countries are not a single monolith. There are different opinions with shades going from one end of the spectrum to another end of the spectrum. So there were many in India who felt that, look, this is a great opportunity for us. And if we uh, become too rigid and sort of, it could lead to collapse of negotiations and we'll lose a big opportunity. And So, and people did not understand what does Kakodkar want. He wants cooperation or he does not want cooperation. Because, there was also among the seniors in atomic energy, particularly past chairman, they had gone through the experience of Tarapur 1 and 2 when the field supply was disrupted and we had to go through the whole MOX development. Then French came in, and so that all that history was still fresh in the minds of people. So it had to be that we had to carefully draw your red lines and then convince everybody, both in the country but also convince the other side that what is being proposed is a very rational and a logical thing, and also to give them a very strong signal that uh, we will succeed in developing this cooperation only on this basis and nothing else. So it went through very hard times. I was branded as 600-pound gorilla in the room, which I had to tell them that I take it as a compliment. But that was the kind of a very, what shall I say, uh, moments of crisis, from crisis to crisis to crisis, it went on. But finally, uh, everything came through as an acceptable solution on both sides. And so here it is. India is a nuclear weapon state as declared by itself. There is an NSG exemption for the civilian program of the country, and we have an India specific safeguard agreement with IAEA, which is uh, which is like a nuclear weapon state, and nobody else other than P5 have such an agreement with IAEA. So that was the journey. Sorry for a bit longish reply.
No,
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 sir. It was every word was worth its weight in gold. I remember there's a lovely couplet from Mirza Ghalib which says, "Mushkile itni padi mujhpe ki aasan ho gayi." So I think that is what you were wanting to convey. That you had so many multiple that Pradyumna, over to you for the next question.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Amit. I think it was, as Anilji explained, it was definitely a combin. It was timing because many geopolitical developments were going on, which were in our favor. We were negotiating from the position of strength. I think that was really important. I think Anilji, it was also the perseverance and statesmanship that you and the team at that time displayed, which brought India to this ultimate solution. But that was on the strategic side. You also talked about the energy side. And in some of your speeches, articles, you have highlighted the importance, and also now you've highlighted the importance of India being self-reliant in the nuclear power, because that's one clean form of energy. But just now you also mentioned the challenge that we have on the uranium side, right? We have expanded our reserves, but we still don't have enough. So we still have to depend outside. At the same time, there is a vast resource of thorium that we have in India. How do you see that playing a role in us being energy independent and self-reliant? And what are some of the opportunities and challenges? Because we read a lot or hear a lot, but not enough for us to understand it fully.
Well, that is, you know, as you mentioned correctly, India, in terms of uranium resources, uh, we are still modest. And as I said, we have now grown our reserves, but still they are very poor in terms of concentration. And so uh, there are limitations on uranium front even now. Now, as a result of civil nuclear cooperation, what has happened is we are able to access uranium from outside. And to that extent, the near-term constraint on growth of nuclear energy in the country has been solved. And as you know, today, uh, Department of Atomic Energy is on a program to construct 10 700 megawatt domestically designed PHWRs in a fleet mode. So, but we must recognize that that is still a temporary solution. India's real strength in terms of nuclear energy and nuclear resources still lies in terms of its vast thorium resources. And that Dr. Bhabha had identified right from day one, and that has become the kind of main rationale for the three-stage nuclear power program that India has been pursuing. Now, I think that three-stage logic still remains. The challenge is thorium, unlike uranium, which has a small component of fissile content, thorium has no fissile material content. So if purely thorium, you cannot construct a reactor just on thorium. You require some fissile material to go with it. On the other hand, when you put thorium in a nuclear reactor, some of it gets converted to the fissile component. And you can actually adjust things in a manner that over a period of time, you can run the energy program based on uranium-233, which is the fissile material produced out of thorium and thorium. And then India will have kind of access to literally unlimited resource of energy. Now, thorium has many other advantages. It contributes to greater level of safety. Nuclear energy today, one of the barrier is its proliferation potential. Thorium actually contributes to proliferation resistance. Uh, there are areas where the spent fuel storage becomes that much safer with thorium matrix. And so there are many advantages with thorium, quite apart from the large energy source that it represents. And so we are continuing with three-stage nuclear program. And we in fact have uh, a small, as on the laboratory scale, a small 30 kilowatt system, Kamini, which is a reactor running based on uranium-233 derived from thorium. And that reactor is operational at Kalpakam. We also have a design completely ready and developed, fully developed, of advanced heavy water reactor. It's a 300 megawatt system, which derives something like 2/3 of its energy from thorium. And also it is based on a configuration which has tremendous safety strength. For example, in such a reactor, there will be no impact in public domain, even in a severe accident. First of all, the chance of severe accident itself would become very low. So, and that development program is in fact continuing.
Mhm.
And even for that, realizing this development program would mean running a uranium reactor, uh, recovering the spent fuel, reprocessing it to produce plutonium, running a plutonium uranium fast breeder reactor in the second stage, recovering that spent fuel, recovering more plutonium, and then irradiating thorium, and ultimately running a, as I said earlier, uranium-233 thorium reactor in the third stage. So you would recognize that you want to realize this three-stage program, you have to pursue a parallel reprocessing program, not just for uranium fuel, but also for MOX fuel and also for thorium fuel. And these are technology evolutions, and some of them are yet to take place. And this is where we wanted to be autonomous in our ability to pursue such a development. Now that is, continues to go on unconstrained, and I'm sure India would realize its dream of getting large energy from thorium over a period of time.
That will be amazing. That will be fantastic. Amit,
So there
why
are
don't we move to the
exact
next section?
exactly, Pradyumna and sir, it is really amazing. There are so many questions here. Uh, वो हर एक महकश पुकार उठा इधर से पहले इधर से पहले. That is the situation that we are all going through our mind. So from uranium to thorium to a very interesting question, which is very important for our nation, and that is our technology. Sir, you've chaired the committee that was set up for the Technology Vision 2035 for our country, and I believe it was published by the Honorable Prime Minister in 2016. Uh, so, what are the key pillars of this, and how do you see India closing the gap in technology with the so-called advanced nations? What are some of the intrinsic advantages that we in India have?
Yeah, I think, see, this was done in my capacity as the chairman of TIFAC, Technology Information Forecasting and Assessment Council. And you might recall that TIFAC had also brought out a Technology Vision 2020 document
Yes.
under the leadership of Dr. Kalam, because he was also the chairman of TIFAC at that time. Now, creating such vision documents, uh, and particularly in the context of technology, is very important because that allows us to steer our development program in a particular direction. And while recognizing fully well that the it's not that you create a vision and at the end of 25 35 years everything happens exactly like that. Rather it never happens like that. But even then there is a huge merit to creating such vision, to channelize our efforts, to synchronize our efforts, so that we all of us work in a coherent way. And we felt that we should not be really waiting till 2020 for creating the next vision document, because it should be a process with a bit of overlap. And that is exactly what was started. And but we said we'll do this with a difference when it came to developing the Technology Vision 2035 document. See, as against just kind of grazing a crystal ball and saying which are the technologies which will become important or which are likely to come on scene. That, of course, is one important way, because that will always happen. New technologies will coming. Even Arthur Clarke has been doing this kind of predictions. Uh, but we felt that we should give some thought to the Indians. And so this Technology Vision 2035 is rather a document for Indians in 2035. And we kind of had a fairly deep brainstorming to figure out what will be the state of India in 2035, what will be the need of its people in 2035, and how do we meet those needs. And we figured out that India will continue to be a large and diverse country, and so the needs of its people, it's not as if that need will be only, so no, you take a case of say drinking water. It's not going to be that one single technology will meet needs of all Indians, because there are Indians living in cities, there are Indians living in villages, there are Indians living in hilly areas, there are Indians living in deserts, so on and so forth. And then there are variety of, culturally there is diversity. So there are belief systems which are different. And we felt that all these must get factored in terms of identifying technology needs, technology solutions. And so we basically uh, identified 12 needs, 6 at individual level, like safe drinking water and clean air, like good food and nutrition, like education, and so on and so forth. Similarly, we found out, identified the six another set of needs at the collective level, for example, governance. And then based on that, we created a lifescape. You know, supposing we suddenly put ourselves in 2035, uh, what is it that one would expect to see? It's a kind of a wish list. And then we said, look, everybody should have access to public transport uh, within 1 kilometer of his or her residence. Everybody should be able to reach national capital in less than 8 hours. Everybody, like that, or in the context of habitat, in the context of health. So we defined a set of parameters which should kind of work out our technology requirements and consistent with the needs, consistent with the we took actually the Maslow pyramid as one of the simple bases, because people have needs. You have identity needs, you have security needs, you have prosperity needs, and technology required to meet these needs are different. So technology vision 2035 discusses all these things and comes about a set of technologies which are either ready for deployment or where some more R&D should be done, or which we could only imagine now, and so on and so forth. And it's a very comprehensive document. It has been done in a consultative mode involving some 5,000 people, young, old, bright people, commoners, all kinds of people. And I'm very happy that this was very well accepted. uh, Prime Minister's office instructed Niti Aayog to see how this document can be implemented, and Niti Aayog in turn sent it to all science departments to look at it and plan their program. So I'm very happy. I think that effort was well worth it, and it uh, kind of had the desired effect.
It surely was, sir. I mean, this is amazing. And I'm sure these are such important things for everybody. From टेक्नोलॉजी से चलते हैं नौनिहालों के तरफ the young and the sometimes restless, the engineers. Sir, on one hand side, though we are proud of the engineering institutes that our country has produced, there's a common perception that most of the engineers today are non-employable. You have chaired committees where we are proud of, where you've actually thought about making IITs and NITs truly world class. That's an amazing work you've been doing. So, what is your thoughts on this topic of engineers who are non-employable, and what is likely to be done, and what can a group like this do as well to contribute from our side in that mission?
No, this is, I think, the most important contemporary issue, in my view. If India has to kind of stand global competition, I think the engineers of the country have to rise to the occasion and make the country competitive. And of course, the first step in that is to make our engineers themselves competitive, which majority of them are not. So when I was doing the IIT report, the first thing I recognized was that IITs have done a great job. They have created a great international impact, essentially coming out of its BTECs. But in fact, at that time, there are only 5 or 6 IITs. And compared to the size of the country, the committee, we felt that this number is far too inadequate. And so that report focuses on two things: how IITs should go forward, because IITs have to lead the country. So there was, in terms of greater R&D focus and solving national problems, there are a lot of sort of thoughts and recommendations there. And at the same time, we made a recommendation for growth. Uh, we, of course, said that, a sudden growth is not a good idea, which had just taken place at that time. But a continuous progressive growth of IITs and NITs and such national level institution must take place, so that we improve, we create a larger impact on quality education on countrywide. The second thing is that IIT should be engaging with the tier 2 institutions to improve their quality. So that, again, I think a lot of things are happening, both between IITs and NITs and other engineering colleges. But the most important thing to me is to kind of encourage engineering colleges to get closer to the industry, and through that channel create opportunities for the students to actually solve industry problems. See, today, for example, you may say what a third year engineering degree student can do. Now, at the high end of technology, I agree, because there you require people who have some research experience and who can translate that research to technology. So that should happen on one side. So that's why we want more of IITs, and IITs should go higher and higher. But at the same time, there is a very large MSME system. The industries, micro, medium, and small and medium industries, and they are actually the largest employers in the country, next only to agriculture. They also contribute to maximum foreign exchange earning. And all of them, without exception, except those who are just begun today, they have working capital problem, and so they are not able to attend to their technology needs. And to keep, the technology has to be kept rejuvenated. It has to be kept up to date, because if your technology is not up to date and you are in industry with an kind of obsolete technologies, you can never be competitive in market. And so what we have said, and I actually work on that right now, is to create a bridge between our engineering colleges and our MSME industries, where all engineering colleges students do one semester project. Now, instead of doing a hypothetical project, we could create conditions where before they get onto the project, somewhere in the third year itself, the students along with their faculty go to the industry, identify a problem which they can solve in a period of 6 months, their project period. And industry should agree that they will also join hands in this effort. So it will be a collaborative effort. And then you put this project through a competitive selection, so that there is some level of excellence embedded into this practice. And then come fourth year, the student should actually solve that problem sitting in industry if need be. And I found that this actually makes a huge difference to students, to faculty, and to industry. And most of these industries problems are well within the reach of third year engineering college students. And I think that is another thing where the quality of engineers would improve. I think there should be also programs where there should be this concept of finishing schools, where industries anyway spend time on engineers. They employ and then train them to make suitable for them. They could hire them, let's say 1 year earlier, and while they are, the time of their work in industry could also be the time for their degree work. And so it can get a shape of a finishing school, and that will bring the industry and the institutions even closer together. But all this is work in progress, and I think the technology itself is evolving very fast, and the world is evolving fast. And I am afraid we are not evolving fast enough. So many times I wonder whether the gap between us and the world at large is closing or it is expanding. And that is a challenge. So I think all of us need to pay attention to this area.
Absolutely,
Uh,
sir.
Anilji, we are almost close to that 1 hour that we had set for ourselves as the first signal, and but the interaction has been so amazing. I mean, in fact, I was really surprised to see when my phone gave me the signal that 1 hour is over. But we have some wonderful questions on the chat. We also have a couple of questions that we still wanted to talk to you about. If you are okay, we can extend the session by another 15 minutes, but only with your permission and your consent.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's okay, but you look at your other organizational matters.
So
No,
nobody's leaving the seats. Nobody is going anywhere. So organizational matters are absolutely well taken care of.
Okay, let's go on.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, you are very actively involved in energy education and as well as societal well-being. You are supporting many organizations, including Vishwa Marathi Parishad. We also have Professor Kshitish Patukle with us in the audience, actually. And we see that we're reading, in fact, and we're discussing, Amit and myself, the concept of sillage that you are championing to bridge the gap between city and villages. Could you enlighten us with that concept, and how do you see that this actually can be accelerated?
Yeah, see what is happening is as the economy is progressing, India has progressed quite well. Indian economy has been growing quite fast. Leave aside this recent pandemic time, but and it will, I'm sure, it will catch up again and start growing fast at a fast pace. But at the same time, disparities are also growing. I think the gap between city and village is also widening. The wealth is very unevenly distributed. Now, villages are particularly at a disadvantage in this context. And so, on one side, there is this huge rush for migration from villages to cities, which is I think, a global phenomenon. I would say virtually unstoppable. But in India, the growth of the tier 2 cities is perhaps fastest in the world. And that is because tier 1 city, their absorptive capability is kind of progressively diminishing. They are becoming more and more kind of hostile to incoming migrants. But uh, on the other hand, this is happening because there is a big challenge in terms of livelihood in rural areas. Now, in spite of this migration, I think 2/3 of Indian population on an average lives in villages. And at least for a couple of decades, I think the people living in villages will outnumber people living in cities. Now, I cannot imagine India's economic progress in a benign way unless villages are empowered and the gap between city and villages is bridged. Now, we are all focused. When you talk about villages, we talk about agriculture, which is actually the case. That's right. Uh, but the fact still is that if you look at the ACCC 2011 census, which is the latest census available, uh, next one will hopefully come soon. But of the village households, only 30% households can run on agriculture. While there are, in a sense, there the own farmland agriculture. While there are 50% people or 50% households, they run on agriculture, but they run on the basis of daily casual workers. They go to the farm as labor and work there and earn a living. And then, of course, they do many other things. So the short point is that while we have to give focus and emphasis on allied activities to agriculture, on value addition to agro produce, which is all happening. But what prevents us to give emphasis on the knowledge era activities. Because we are in a knowledge era, we were in agrarian era. And at that time, of course, India was the topmost GDP country in the world. Then around 1700 came the industrial era, and India started declining in relative terms. And there are many other reasons. Let's not go into that. But today we are in knowledge era. And India's GDP, 50% comes from service sector. And service sector is very largely dependent on the new technology. At that time, IT, but all knowledge technologies. Now, why can't we, through education, empower village youth sufficiently so that they can also contribute to the technology needs or the service sector activities in the country, sitting from villages, just as what is happening in cities? They can also make an app. They can also work from, just like we work from home, they can work from villages. They can create connects between people using digital technologies. There are a large number of challenges and opportunities in villages where they themselves can leverage that opportunity and create livelihood for that. And if you do that, it will mean a very rapid increase in village economy, the average earning in rural areas, which is roughly half of average earning in urban areas today. So, so it will bridge the gap between urban and rural areas. And of course, it will make a much larger contribution to growth of India's economy as compared to what will happen in urban areas, which of course has to happen. So that should continue. And now, if that is there, we pay attention to villages, not that we don't. But our attention to villages is more in terms of brick and mortar, construct roads, construct school buildings, construct hospital buildings, and so on and so forth. We have not paid enough attention to the human resource development in villages. Why can't we think of creating rural universities located right in the rural domain? There are one or two, but otherwise, by and large, we tend to move to urban areas where larger number of people are there in villages. Why can't we make our educational curriculum in a manner where children learn to leverage the local resources? For example, let us say there are many bamboo producing areas in the country, and there are, I'm sure, civil engineering colleges in that. How many of those civil engineers will be able to construct a house out of bamboo? The local artisans would construct, but how many trained civil engineers will be able to do that? Because we teach them only how to construct a column and a slab made of concrete, and then we ignore the local resource. And so we need a knowledge connect between city and village, and we can bring technologies from cities, or for that matter from all across the world, which is relevant, expose those technologies to village people. They can adopt them for their livelihood. The knowledge institutions can adopt them for taking further R&D and improving it further, solving problems, whatever appear in terms of deploying those technologies. And if you do that, we'll have a completely new breed of young people who will be more empowered, and they will see opportunities in villages rather than wanting to run away from villages because of the lack of livelihood. And that is what we want to achieve in Silage. It's an ecosystem which is best of city and best of village, or it is a habitat, knowledge-led habitat in a new age society. So you could have a silage at the periphery of cities, or you could have a silage close to a village. That Zoho Corporation, Mr. Sridhar Vembu, I think that's his name. He moved his headquarters from San Francisco to a village in Tamil Nadu, not even Chennai, in a village. And he's running his global operations from there. Now imagine what difference it will make to village economy. And I have seen, have been propagating this concept, but it's not that this is something new. There are many places where with these kind of ecosystem or this kind of environment existed, those rural domains have in fact grown. I know there are many villages where such institutions and such ecosystems are there, and their economy is today better than the nearby city, and the reverse migration has begun. So this can be achieved, and that's why I am very fascinated about this concept of silage.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. And I think it's a very innovative concept. And as you said, is truly the path forward for both betterment of the society, of the villages, which is where the India resides, but also it will definitely benefit the corporations which are doing. And I think that example was really, really good. We have lots of questions, Anilji, from the audience. We will try and bring all those questions to you and comments to you in a summary form later. But I have one question which I'm sure is on top of all our minds, and Mr. Praful Pathak, who is also the president of Solar Energy Society of India, has voiced it for us, and I thought we should ask you that question before we conclude the program, is how and who did inculcate the value of simplicity in you? It's a personal question. We can all feel that power of taking simplicity as a value uh, on how you go about the life, but also some of the approaches that you have talked about, simple solutions to very complex problems. So how did you inculcate that? Who inculcate that that value in your life and your value system, sir?
Well, that credit should go to my mother. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can.
Yes, sir.
That credit should go to my mother. I have been brought up like that. Of course, we began with very humble beginnings, and she had background of uh, kind of having been educated and trained in Gandhian ashram near Varda, and so the Gandhian way of living has a lot of influence on our family, and well, that's how. But I, for me, it is just the natural thing. I would like to be myself. So whether I'm here talking to you, or whether I'm with the family, or whether I'm with some friends somewhere, or whether I'm in an international conference, it hardly makes any difference to me. They are all same for me. So,
Absolutely.
but that's what I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So we are truly blessed. Now, as Pradyumna was saying, if you agree, what we will do, sir, is that each of those messages, because you would love to read them, I'm sure, but also if you would like to reply to them, I hope that's okay that we send them over to you. I have your email address. We will compile all those messages on all those questions, and we will send them over to you. And because there is always a way for us to get those answers. So once you choose to answer, you can always just reply back to us, and we will share it with our lovely friends. There are some very good questions that have come in. We'll share that later. Thank you so much for this. But there is a gentleman who probably has had the privilege of having you as his mentor for some time now, and he is Professor Kshitij Patukle. I will request Kshitij ji, आपको मैं गुजारिश करता हूँ अगर आप दो शब्द कहें to thank Anil ji, and also to say your vote of thanks. Over to you, Kshitij.
Thank you very much, and namaste to everyone. I'm very happy today to see Dr. Anil Kakodkar sir addressing this August gathering, and this is really a great intellectual debate. I think there is also we are having a hunger of thoughts, intellectual hunger, we can say, and such type of platforms. I'm very happy. I congratulate Amit Vaikar and his whole team that they have started this Vishwa Manthan. So we all Indians are very much aware about Samudra Manthan. So the Samudra Manthan story is not only in India, but it is in all Asia, Southeast Asia, mostly you will see. So like that, this same Vishwa Manthan is doing some manthan of ideas and thoughts, etc., etc. So this is a very good interaction and good initiative, I would like to congratulate everyone. But very importantly, very nicely, sir has described his. Now I am knowing him since perhaps last 10 years, more than 10 years. I am with Dr. Jeshtaraj Joshi, Dr. Mr. Emin Chaini, then Dr. Anil Kakodkar, sir. We are learning lot many things from them. But somebody in our chat, he has also mentioned about while bringing a gap between rural and urban areas, some spiritual thinking should also be included in this idea of growth. Now, I always think that the basic crisis is there that we everybody want. Amit, I was just talking yesterday with Amit. So everybody want a continuous growth, and that too continuous linear growth. That is the basic problem of the concepts of growth and development, everything. But such type of we are the youngest country in the world, around 70% are below 30, 35. So that way, I think such type of talks by Dr. Kakodkar sir, Dr. Mashelkar sir, Dr. Bhatkar sir, means they, I believe that they are somewhere in the phase of वानप्रस्थाश्रम आणि जैसे मराठी में कहते कि राहिलो आता उपकारा पुरता और गिविंग सम नॉलेज सगळ्यांना सब लोगों को कुछ हमारे जो उनके जिंदगी के जो अमृत कण है वो देना चाहते. So I'm very happy, and I would like to thank everybody, especially respected Dr. Kakodkar sir, that from his very busy schedule he has spared his valuable time, and he has also accepted to extend the talk by around 15 minutes. And it will be a great initiative for all of us to grow, to understand, and for the better world of tomorrow. These all ideas will definitely help all of us. I thank you, everybody. I thank you, Amit, and the team of Vishwamanthan for organizing such a great talk today. And humbly, I would like to remind that we are also waiting. Dr. Anil Kakodkar sir will be giving a very great. He is a Mahasammelana Dhyaksha for our Vishwa Marathi Sammelan, online Sammelan. Already more than 50,000 people have registered for that. And we are also waiting for his great guidance for across the people across the world. So I thank you very much, everybody, and best of luck to everybody. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just as we all said, these words of wisdom, these pearls of wisdom are all available for you. They will be available on the YouTube channel that Vishwamanthan has. These are really amazing things, because even if you go back to them and keep listening to them, they always give you something new. So please subscribe to this channel, and you will see the video that we have today. We will be back, our friends. We'll be back in 3 weeks. Let me not tell you who the next speaker is. Let that be a little secret. This is, I can only say that he is probably Guruo ke Guru. With that little hint, let me once again thank all of you for this lovely interaction. Thank Anilji. Wishing everybody a lot of safety. Samir, you have raised your finger. You want to say something?
Yeah, just one thing. People are asking how would we get back to them on the answers. So we'll post the details on either the YouTube channel or the WhatsApp group. So we'll let you know how to get the answers to your questions once we get them back.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Very well said. Very well said. And please reach out to any of the Vishwamanthan members. We also have a Vishwamanthan WhatsApp group. We'd be happy to connect all of you there. Please reach out to me, to Samir, to Pradyumna, to anybody you know, and be part of this. Thank you so much. Wishing everybody a lot of good health, good immunity, and a lot of good thoughts. Anilji, once again, can't thank you enough. From everybody, Namaste, Jai Hind.
Thank you.
And Happy New Year in advance. Thank you, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.